It surprises me exactly 0% that golf has become so popular within gaming. Honestly, the sport itself has all the ingredients to be a blast to play as well as watch, differentiating itself by relying on focus and precision while other sports rely more on strength and speed. There are just a few problems that keep it from being as popular, such as the difficulty in actually seeing a good shot because the ball is so tiny and it travels so far out of view. It also requires much more time between play compared to actual play, which really kills the momentum. Enter video games, where a simple line of code can fix all your woes and make golf the spectator sport the world deserves. Welcome to my Worth Your Time series, where I break down whether in this attention-hungry economy, if games are worth your time in addition to just being worth your money. Super Battle Golf wastes no time getting to the game's main premise, so I won't either. You play golf, you battle, you hit someone with an orbital strike from space right as they're about to sink their last shot into the hole with only 5 seconds left, leaving the person screaming obscenities at you that would rival Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobbies of yore. Welcome to hell, golfers. As one would expect from an $8 game that many would toss in the newly christened friendslop genre, Super Battle Golf is very simple in scope, but gives players the paintbrush to create hilarious, clippable moments that are best enjoyed with friends, thus extending the game's limited lifespan. Right now, the game only consists of one mode that includes some customizations to really ratchet up the chaos, or calm things down for more fair play, or to actually learn the game's mechanics. Make the ball in the hole, that is it. The hard part comes in the travel between each stroke. Relatively uncommon for the golfing genre is the requirement to travel mostly on foot to where your ball landed. Most golf games just teleport you to keep the action seamless. But in Super Battle Golf, the travel is actually critical because the trenches of the fairway and the green are where all the game's most intense moments occur. Everyone tees off at the same time, then chases their ball down the fairway. Along the way, there are item boxes to pick up, containing weapons and power-ups to help yourself, or to hurt your new frenemies. Because item boxes take a little while to recharge, you absolutely want to be the first one to grab the box, as the item inside might help you gain an edge on other people and make it to the next box before everyone else, creating a snowball effect. Items range from coffee that gives you a speed boost for a little while, perfect for gaining an early lead over everyone else and avoiding some of the chaos, to protection bubbles, which are perfect when you're lining up the final shot and don't want to get blasted, down to orbital lasers, which act like the game's blue shells, tracking down the player in first and obliterating them without prejudice. In more ways than one, Super Battle Golf feels more like Mario Kart than many other golf games, due to the focus on speed and getting an early lead, stacking items for timely use, and all-out warfare that can change in the blink of an eye, sending you from first place to last just like that. While there are some extra points for being able to complete the hole in fewer strokes, this game strongly emphasizes speed to completion over everything else. The game's chaos comes from how often people pick up items and how devastating a well-timed hit can be for a player. Guns like the pistol, shotgun, and rocket launcher cause enemies to ragdoll when they get hit, which can easily land them in water, causing them to respawn a ways back, resetting large amounts of their progress. Landing a hit on another player gives you a speed boost as well, which incentivizes aggressive play as opposed to everyone cautiously avoiding one another. But what really brings out the demons in people is on the green, the most tense part of the hole where most people are just trying to quickly make their best putt, but some are ruthlessly trying to sabotage others at the expense of their own placement. For that reason, Super Battle Golf is less about deep breaths and careful sinking of the perfect shot, and more about anxiously praying that you can get to your ball unscathed so that you can hit it as quick as possible before getting hit yourself. Most times just being able to get the ball in the hole at all feels like an accomplishment, with so many things and people constantly getting in your way. For many players, Super Battle Golf is all about doing it for the lulz instead of for the win, and that does make for some downright hilarious moments, especially if you're watching safely from the sidelines after finishing the hole yourself. The game has since become famous for its unhinged game chats, which consist of a joyous mix of screaming at your opponents and uproarious laughter from the game's zany unpredictability. This is actually where the game shines brightest, in the bonds the game builds, oftentimes between complete strangers who are just there for a good time and not for the sweatiness. Of course, a portion of people are definitely sweaty, having perfected the game mechanics so that they may lay waste to everyone on the course. Skill gaps are actually pretty frustrating in this game because of a timer that starts the instant the first person finishes the hole. While this mad dash to get your ball in by any means necessary is fuel for gleeful anxiety and chaos, sometimes the hole designs mean that if one person can sink their shot perfectly or get really close and just drive off in a golf cart past everyone, no one else will have the chance to finish the hole in the countdown that follows, which definitely kills the vibe of that hole and feels a bit unfair or just demotivating when it happens. For this, Super Battle Golf benefits most when everyone in the lobby is similarly bad, thus preventing a runaway winner. But hey, if you are looking to get good and play for wins, there is the major drawback that games can be very long, and many of the servers listed are already running, and you have very little chance of catching up if you join a game late. This gives the few players that started at the very beginning a huge advantage over in-progress joiners. Of course, you can join games that are still in setup, but you may never know when they'll start or if the host will shut them down randomly. For this reason, I actually prefer games with mechanisms that start matches automatically instead of always waiting around for a host. While I did say that the main part of the game is in the battle occurring while everyone is running for their ball, it's not always fun. During the frequent times you are alone in your ball chase, traversal feels more like a chore than a challenge. Most weapons are not very effective at long ranges, so that same desire to avoid other people to make sure you can swing in peace does actually strip away a lot of the game's fun. What I believe was supposed to shrink this effect and improve the game's pacing was the inclusion of the golf cart, which is delightfully devious in its ability to carry many passengers at once, run over other players, and even be stolen as you're taking your shot. The issue is that in many of the games I played, it wasn't a common drop from the item boxes, so most people were still stuck on the long walk to their ball. Honestly, I think the pacing issue could be more easily fixed by a slight increase to the character's default running speed to keep things zippy instead of a running simulator between spurts of action, like you would expect from a battle royale game like PUBG. While I think I was able to overcome the balancing of the game's combat, what really held the game back from its potential was the content available at launch. I fully realize I am talking about an $8 game here, but for a game not in early access, only having 28 holes to play inside 3 different locales did not feel like it would be enough to keep me entertained for long. After only a few hours, you're likely to have seen everything that there is to offer. While you can still improve how well you do on each hole, the game does feel shallow in comparison to a game like Golf with Your Friends, which is only a bit more expensive, but comes complete with likely 10 times the total amount of holes to play, as well as much more diversity over the course themes, strange and unpredictable obstacles that uniquely modify game mechanics, and tons of wild shortcuts to learn. Pretty much none of that is available in Super Battle Golf. While that may be a consequence of needing a certain layout to keep the fighting balanced, I was never particularly excited to play any hole in particular because, aside from a few outliers, most courses quickly blended together. The only major obstacle that really shakes things up are the levels that cleverly use water to encourage precision. Since you are assessed a penalty stroke and stunned by your own ball when you hit water, there is definitely strategy in how you navigate the more wet levels. The lack of content feels even worse when trying to play single player, which is all but non-existent since there are no options for bots. I understand that the game is completely marketed as a multiplayer experience, but at least adding bots would give the player a chance to practice the mechanics before hopping into lobbies where you'll get dominated by your opponents and won't understand why. Yes, there is a rudimentary tutorial and driving range you can use to practice, but it's not enough to prepare you for the bedlam of multiplayer. Perhaps that's the point. Trial by fire and all that. But it's not just single player. I would also love more game modes than just the speed scoring free-for-all that is available right now. They need more team modes, regular stroke counting options, and perhaps even just a mode that is more focused on the battle than the golf. The game desperately needs variety to keep players like me coming back. I think the lack of more levels and single-player options will prove a sticking point later as the game starts to lose its player base, effectively making the game worthless without people to play with, and any content updates falling on deaf ears after the game has spent its 15 minutes of fame. Like many cheap multiplayer Steam games as of late, Super Battle Golf will be much more fun if you already know you are going in with buddies lined up, instead of looking for random lobbies. Random lobbies can be a ton of fun, but the personal betrayal of a friend hitting you in the back with a rocket has much more potential for laughs than some random guy doing it for the 5th time while your blood pressure spikes. While I lamented a lack of content, the unpredictable interactions between items, ragdoll physics, and pure unadulterated human nature sure did make for a lot of teeth-clenching moments, as well as those moments when I could do nothing but laugh at my own folly. The game is still very well put together, with a surprising robust list of customization options that'll keep many players fighting for the most coins and the best swag. For what it set out to do, Super Battle Golf still tees off to a good start, despite some hangups in depth and variable match pacing, earning a commendable 7.5 out of 10, thanks to its fun collection of power-ups, refined mechanics that feel smooth and fair, and near endless opportunity for fun with your golfing buddies. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.